Hi, my name is Ryan with Auto Branch Homestead, and today I'm going to show you how to make a valet. This is the perfect beginner project. It's a perfect quick project. If you want to just churn these out for friends or for gifts for the holidays or anything like that. In fact, it's almost quicker to make it than it is for me to explain how to make it. So, if you want to know all the tools that I'm going to be using in this video, you can find those in the description. They are Amazon affiliate links, so if you buy stuff from those links, I might get a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps support the channel. So, without further ado, let's get into it. To get started making our valet, we need a piece of leather. So, I have some chrome tan leather. I think it's a roughly 1 millimeter thick, or what is that, 4 to 5 ounces, somewhere in that ballpark. This is chrome tan, so it's already colored and it's already finished. Once we sew this up, you're pretty much done. You can get fancy, you could paint the edges or whatever, but I want this to be a quick project. I needed some place to put my keys and stuff, and if you wanted to make this as a quick gift, you want to batch out a bunch of these, it's super quick and easy. It saves you a million steps. You don't have to wait for anything to dry, and it's fantastic. If you wanted to go the next level and do like a carved pattern or something on the inside or the outside, veg tan would also be good. Also, if you wanted to wet mold this a little bit, that'd help a little bit. But hey, this stuff is going to make the project quick and easy, and it's also pretty cheap. So a win-win. Now, a quick note on cutting this out. So you can obviously mark this out and cut it out like anything else. You know, it's just a rectangle. It's pretty easy to do. But if you have one of these 6x24 quilting rulers, it makes it super easy because you can cut out one of them, of course, but you can cut out 3 just by cutting the shape of this ruler, and then just using the fact that it's clear, you can easily march along and cut the extra pieces out. The other cool thing is this is just about the most common size quilting ruler that people buy and that they sell. So even if you don't have one of these, because this isn't, if you're making wallets and stuff like that, this isn't the most useful size for a leather worker, but it is a super useful size for quilters. So if you know anybody in your life that's a quilter, I'm willing to bet that at least one of them has one of these, probably multiple that you can borrow. Now that we've got our leather, the first step is to punch our holes. Well, actually, the first step is decide which side are you going to have the inside be and which side are you going to do for the outside. And I think because I did this one with the flush side in, I'm actually going to do the reverse. So, you know, you're going to see both sides on this project, so it's really whatever you want. And I like both, so I'm going to do both. So, now that we've picked a side, all we have to do is punch our corners. And that is pretty easy in that all you have to do is just fold the edge over, make sure everything is lined up, make sure your point is in the corner, and then we just need to hold this here. I have a bulldog clip somewhere. All right. Hold this here with a bulldog clip, whatever clip you want. You actually don't even need that, but it does make things a little bit easier. And bring over our anvil and our punching mat, and I'm just going to quickly scribe out a rough mark. I think I'm gonna actually punch this in right about there. Also keep in mind, if you mark your stitching line like this, the distance that you're seeing on your stitching irons is from the point to the point. So obviously if you do that, the tine is a little bit thicker than that, so it'll be just shy. I like 5 millimeter, but hey, if I can do it all with one tool, I am. Now, we're just going to punch our stitch hole carefully. Whoop. First, we're going to hit ourselves in the hand. And there we are. And all you have to do for the other corners is just this 3 more times. All right, and there we have all of our corners punched out. And by the way, I do actually kind of like the way these creases look, but if you smooth this out and move this around with this pull-out leather, those will actually go away. Those aren't permanent or anything like that. Another note is, because of the way the leather wants to fight you a little bit folded up like this, be extra careful that you're keeping your stitching iron perfectly perpendicular to your leather when you're punching those. When I punched this other one earlier, it got away from me just a little bit. Where is it? On this side. So, you know, is that the end of the world? No, I'm sure it'll look fine. And especially as gifts, you know, your friends and family are going to judge you a little bit less harshly than if you were trying to sell this at like an art fair or on Etsy or something like that. So, you know, something to keep in mind. To stitch this, we have a couple options. We can stitch it like I did this one, where you just start on that first stitch and start going. But we can actually start on the outside and do kind of a wrap over there. So that's how I'm going to show for this one. And essentially what you do is you just make like you're doing a regular stitch, but starting on the outside. And it looks a little weird because everything's laying flat right now. And you could pin this up, but I'm not going to. Pulls together just fine. So, as we pull that together, that will tighten up. And once we get that next stitch, it'll pull a lot closer together. But there we are. We got a little bit more of a decorative stitch there. And we'll just continue to march along as we would with any other saddle stitch. Oop. And it would have been nice if I was paying attention and actually evened out my thread, but that's okay. I cut it extra long so that I can reuse the scrap for one of the other corners. Now I'm yapping away, doing it wrong. So, as I've said before, the key to getting better saddle stitches is by doing it consistently and taking your time and not talking while you do your stitches. But hey, it's all good, especially if you catch your mistakes before you actually make them. So, pretty easy, just 3 stitches. Well, 4 if you want to count that one around the outside. And, as I always do, let's back stitch a stitch and a half and we'll be done with this corner. There we have our first corner done. Just 3 more to do. By the way, here's a nice trick. If you run out of thread, or you essentially have run out of thread because of the length of the needle right before you're done, you can actually just stick the needle in and just thread your thread and pull the thread through like that. Obviously a little bit more time consuming, but for those last couple stitches, instead of ripping everything out, which again, this is just a couple stitches, but nonetheless, to just wring that extra little bit out of your thread, it's a nice little trick there. Now, it'll only save you just a little bit, so it only works if you have just a couple, oop, that's a little too frayed, just a couple stitches left, but man, is that handy when you just need that little bit extra. So there we have our Valet all stitched up, and you know what? I think I said I was gonna sew that up with the grain side in. Well, what are you gonna do? We're already finished now. Maybe I'll actually remember when I sew up the third one that I'm making, but nonetheless, we're all good. And I liked, even though this is just chrome tan leather, I do like to give the sides a little bit of a crease. Does help flatten it out. And I really do like the pull-up that you get in this leather. So you get a little nice highlight there for just a couple seconds of work. Another thing that you can do to take this up a notch is we've got the points on these corners. If you round those out, that'll make it look a little bit more like this. I just took a slight radius off the corner on these ones. I would recommend doing that after you punch your holes, but before obviously you sew it up. Now that said, we could just go right now and nip those off. But spur of the moment, I'm sure I'd make a mess of that. But nonetheless, there we are. I'm sure it took me 3 times as long to explain it as it did to actually make the project, especially if I put it in the middle in front of the camera. And there we are. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.